Dave is probably asleep, considering he was texting us at midnight about getting a hand job from Richie Sambora. At midnight, Dave texted us and said, "Would you guys get a hand job if it was given to you by Richie Sambora?"
Wait, I thought he was asking if we would give him one.
No. No.
Okay. I kind of just glanced at my phone where that came
because
across.
You're so used to getting text messages like that.
In the middle of the night, getting text from Dave where he's like, "Would you fuck a dinosaur in its ear?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, maybe. Good night." Hey, Dave. You know what? I think all of this Richie Sambora handjob talk that we had the other night infected my dreams, because I had a dream that we were all circle jerking on this podcast together over Zoom.
Whoa.
And Yakety Sax was playing.
That's very graphic. Yakety Sax?
Yeah,
like don't talk back?
Yeah, no, Yakety Sax is the one from Benny Hill.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
And Jason, this is how I still remember the dream. I made a point to, I almost wrote it.
I don't know if I want to know anymore.
Well, Jason, you finished.
And what did he finish?
He finished his contribution. And we talked about putting up one of those, like, please stand by technical difficulty signs that was just covered in like ropey jism.
That's a good dream.
It's a weird dream.
Is it? I feel.
Did you really? That's like legit? You had that dream?
I legitimately had that dream. And well, the thing is, I thought in the dream, I thought you guys were joking. I thought
this is like the second or third time in this brief time we've been connected that I'm already speechless again.
So, yeah, like, I thought in the dream, I thought you guys were putting me on.
Like we weren't really jerking off?
Right. I thought you were just joking around, but then Jason was like, nah.
Well, couldn't you see what was happening?
I could see, well, like like this. Just the motion.
Yeah. That's great.
It was disturbing.
That's I don't know if I want to be a part of this podcast anymore.
So they have like dispensaries and stuff.
Yeah.
For medical reasons. Exactly. So I was just in Maine, and I was like, oh, I need weed. And I remember like one of my friends was like, oh, well, when you're in Maine, you just like, you go on weed maps and you call people until they say that they have a donation system in place, because it's supposed to be recreationally legal, but COVID has set that back like a month and a half.
Right.
But so what they do, like, technically is you can donate a cash amount and they will give you weed in exchange, right? Yeah. So I call this, like, the first place I call up and I'm like, hey, do you guys have a donation system in place? And they're like, no, we're a medical facility. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, but we can help you out today. And I was like,
okay. It's like the 1920s.
And I was like, well, do I need to apply for a medical card or something? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, but I have an out-of-state license. And they're like, that's fine. And I was like, so I don't need a medical card? And they're like, well, you can get one if you like. And I was like, well, why do I need to? Like, if you're just going to help me out. And then they delivered it right to my door. Predator Alien stuff. What's going on with Predator and Alien? Tell me.
Oh, you don't know?
No, I have no idea.
Wow. Well, then let me inform you that Marvel has taken the Predator and Alien franchises away from Dark Horse.
Oh, that sounds cool. Then they'll finally be able to battle Wolverine.
That's right.
That's what the fans have always wanted.
What they've always wanted?
So that's pretty big news. You know, Dave and I talked about it before, as much as he wants to act like we didn't.
Supposed to act like we didn't.
I didn't. I wasn't part of that conversation, I don't think.
Because you're not cool.
I'm
it's
not.
The inner circle.
That's all right. Inner circle jerk.
There's like 18 different chats that happen.
Well, I try and avoid the Jason and Justin. I always try and make sure that Freddy's in there.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you.
So Predator and Alien franchise.
Yeah.
They were Fox owned, and obviously since Disney now owns them, now Marvel has the comic book rights. Which to me the news kind of was like big for like a day and then just went away. And to me it's actually like a pretty big deal.
Well, like had it happened in the 90s, I think it would have been a far bigger deal, right? Because that's when like Dark Horse was king, and it was all because of Aliens and Predator. But yeah, you're right. Who does this really affect? Because do like younger readers give a fuck about Aliens and Predator and the legacy that they've had? No different than Conan, no different than Star Wars with Dark Horse. It's we've had this conversation. It's an epidemic for them, losing all of their properties that they've had, the licenses for what, 30 years?
35 years, something?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's not just a nostalgia-based thing. Like, there's a giant arm's length of difference between the kind of content that Dark Horse produces and publishes and IDW. And Marvel, for that matter. When Marvel publishes a licensed product, it's far different in flavor and just approach than what Dark Horse does. Dark Horse is a publisher that takes licenses and does it well, and they have consistently done that, from the beginning up until now. And I don't think people really appreciate that. And and it's kind of sad. But it's going to be a time for Dark Horse to really reinvent themselves. We were talking earlier, like they need to like just start like taking original content, from like every creator that they know and start doing an Image type thing,
Well,
it's kind of what you just.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's kind of what you just said, Dave. Dark Horse, for many reasons, was I always said it was almost like it was Image before Image. Minus the giant names attached to it. But they were the ones that were publishing. If you wanted to print like an indie book, you went to Dark Horse before Image.
Right.
And then they were IDW before IDW. They had the franchises. They had the media tie-ins.
But again, that has kind of like a negative context to it, to say you were IDW before IDW.
Sure.
When I think of IDW, I think of like, without saying it out loud, we all know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a quality differential there between Dark Horse and IDW licensing. But I don't think Dark Horse, from an artistic standpoint, I understand why they need that, why they need licensing commercially. Yeah. But like their original content for me is way better and more like more.
Well, I don't know if I agree, because I get those Predator Alien comics are some of the must reads, but you are right, they do also publish great stuff that's not related to tie-ins.
Their horror comics are so great.
But I only talk about this on a financial level.
Right.
Like this is going to be a huge financial blow to Dark Horse.
Doesn't Jason look like he's about to grant a wish?
He looks like Kazam. What's the movie that Sinbad's in? Not Sinbad.
The one that doesn't really exist? Or
Shaq is in Kazam.
Kazam. Wait, which one's the one that we all think exists but doesn't?
That's the Sinbad is in a genie movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember I said this to my comic guy after we talked about it, Dave, and my comic guy is like an old school dude who's not on the internet. And his first reaction was like, oh, that's not good for Dark Horse.
No, it's not good at all.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like we said, like the way we opened, like they've lost all their major franchises that they, have had the rights to.
Low-selling, I said it before, a low-selling Marvel book is a great-selling Dark Horse book.
Sure. Yeah.
And, not to piss off Justin, but we talked about this. Marvel's going to do what they always do. They're going to get these titles. They will make them priority for about a year.
Yeah. Not even a year.
Then,
It's really just about the launch.
yeah,
If
oh yeah,
anything.
exactly.
Yeah.
The launch, they'll shove it down everyone's throat. They'll oversaturate, and then after that, they won't, and they'll put them on the back burner.
Right. Like, how many of you guys still read Marvel Star Wars books?
I tried.
I read them all the way through. I read the entire first series of Star Wars Darth Vader and the second Darth Vader, Poe Dameron, which I thought was really good. Finished that. I finished Dr. Aphra. I was reading them pretty.
So you were on board, but that still kind of sounds like only the first 2.5 years of publishing to me, right?
There is a main Star Wars book being published right now. They just relaunched back in March or February.
Yeah.
And
I really enjoy it. The only reason I had to cancel when Amy's hours were cut, I canceled my unlimited.
Oh, right.
But it was not. I'm sorry, it's not good.
Which
I was super
series?
pumped.
You're talking about the new series? One. When did that one start? I don't know that I've read that one.
February.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably haven't touched that one yet. No good?
Maybe it was earlier, but it was not good.
Like what in particular?
It was just boring. Like it was.
Is it just like
nothing happened in it?
It's more of them filling in the gaps between the movies?
This is in between Empire and Jedi.
Okay. Maybe
do you think the fact that they're being forced into creating canon content is going to kind of fuck shit up for them? Like, they have to keep on filling holes. They have to everything has to be legit and the story. They don't have the freedom to just go in 18 different directions. Like, I'm sure they have to run fucking everything by headquarters,
Well, that's one of the
whereas I don't think Dark Horse did in the past. They just had the license and they just fucking did what they wanted, and it was set in stone.
They kind of loosen the reins on that somewhat in two different ways. Like, my understanding is they're being more generous with that Legends content, where they're like, if somebody wants to create something that is not canon, they can.
Right.
But also that huge jump in the timeline that they're doing to give the writers more free reign.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those things are coming.
But right now, who wants to read a story about the Knights of the Old Republic? Everyone wants their fucking Luke Skywalker,
Yeah, is that what you're hearing?
Well, no. I mean, that's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing.
So I think Kanan is still the standout of all of them for me.
Yeah, the artwork in that.
I think Darth Vader was.
Darth Vader was good.
I hated the main series. I didn't hate it, but the straight up normal series of Star Wars.
Yeah,
I did not like
the one that takes place between episodes 4 and 5, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha.
But my thing, is maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I feel like they're already doing this with Conan.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Jason Aaron ended his 12-issue run, which was fantastic and a must-read. And then Savage Sword is not being published anymore, which I think that was announced as a limited series. I think Jason Aaron is still going to do an oversized King Conan series. But the main Conan series, right when Jason Aaron left, these last 2 issues have already been lukewarm. So they had Conan in the Savage Avengers that ended. But so we were just saying, you're going to get some cool crossovers. You're going to get, Predator fighting Wolverine and the Punisher, which of course I'm going to fucking fanboy over. And I'm going to read
but getting back to ITW, doesn't that almost feel like an IDW moment? I don't really want to see that. I have no interest. I think
can't
it's
say
funny.
I have no interest.
It's maybe funny, but I don't, I don't know.
Well, I don't know if I can agree with that because, back in the 90s specifically, the whole thing was, who's the Predator going to fight next?
Yeah.
You had some great crossovers, with Batman. Predator Judge Dredd crossover is freaking awesome. So it was kind of like a natural, like, my thought specifically was the Punisher.
Yeah.
Like, man, see the Punisher fight a Predator would be so cool.
Yeah.
But again, and even Marvel's image they released, they put out an image of a Predator holding Iron Man's helmet with his spine hanging out of it.
Did
And
they?
it was like, of course it's a cool image,
Yeah, right.
but again, I'm thinking about long term, and
Do they have one with the Predator with his arm up Aunt May's butt, like working her like a ventriloquist dummy?
okay, the Predator never did that. The Predator is about the hunt, Freddy.
I'm just saying, Aunt May has been resourceful.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember her from the Spider-Verse, but she had a whole fucking underground compound in her backyard.
She's essentially
Sure.
Bruce Wayne.
You could say that the Predator would see that her she shed is actually an underground lair.
Yeah, and then he'd want to stick his hand up her ass, make her talk.
To then use her like a puppet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Podcasting.
If only anyone else tried to think of a topic.
Did you guys see the movie Midway? It's not a it doesn't really have anything to do with comics, obviously, because it's a war movie.
Yeah, old-timey movie.
But not the old Midway, the Roland Emmerich of Godzilla.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, I watched it yesterday, kind of in the background, and it's very comic booky. Yeah, it's a very comic booky representation of what happened at the Battle of Midway.
Good old Roland Emmerich. Remember, like, when he was an event? He was an annual event that the entire fucking world just came to theaters by the cajillions.
Yeah, he was the big budget movie guy.
We don't have that anymore. It's so sad. Remember that just one big movie every summer?
Oh yeah, they could only afford one big movie every summer in Hollywood, and they gave all that money to the ID4 guys.
Yeah,
they're like, here it is, and they're like, we'll see what we can do, what monument we can blow up this year.
Did you see it? Statue of Liberty burnt down.
It burnt down. We went with a slow burn this time, literally.
Not quite as suspenseful.
For 90 minutes. But Midway, it was like kind of fun, and I don't know, man. It's like sacred, like the whole Pearl Harbor attack and everything. So like, there's part of me that's like, is this crass in the way Pearl Harbor was crass, or is this just a fun dogfight movie? And I decided to let go of all the apprehension and say, oh, this is a fun dogfight movie.
And was it?
Yeah, there was fun dogfights in it.
I saw Nathan, actually, our friend Nathan from Pornhub made a post saying that he hated that movie.
He hated Midway?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I could see why someone would hate it. I mean, it's like a bunch of big movie stars playing these World War II heroes. It's a blend of
you say that about like making a comic booky Pearl Harbor thing, and but they made 9/11 movies 5 years after 9/11.
Oh yeah, that just blows
Oliver
my mind.
Stone, what's his name movie?
Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage, yeah.
Well,
then they did more so. They did a few of them. They did multiple.
That Charlie Sheen one about the elevator.
Yeah.
Where Whoopi Goldberg is like the front desk person. I can't remember what it's called, but that one seemed like the most crass of all of them.
Yeah, the only one I did that I knew of was the Oliver Stone one. And then I had gone to, just prior to them even announcing that it was going into pre-production, I was at a conference or something, and I got to hear Oliver Stone talk. And people kept on pushing to like for him to bring it up at the time and like tell us what this is all about. Is this a conspiracy theory movie? Because his style of filmmaking was super defined at the time, and like he makes a JFK movie and it's 4 hours of So, but he was just like, I don't care. I'm not going to talk about this movie. If people are upset, then too bad. I'm just making it, and that's all I'm going to say. And it was just like, oh, that's weird. It just seemed like it like. But every other movie we got him to talk about, like he just went into great length, about like how deep it was and emotional. And it was almost like he was this, well, it's certainly the beginning of the end of his career, but was he fulfilling some kind of contract just by making this movie? Like, was he being forced in them? But what was his motivation for making that movie? Because was it even good? Like, what was the
which
depiction?
one was the one he did?
I never saw it.
Oh, it was just Nick Cage as a
I thought it was World Trade Center.
officer. Yeah.
Oh, that was Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even realize that he did that movie.
Not to get heavy, I wouldn't watch that.
Right? I wouldn't. No.
I wouldn't watch that.
I have that problem with a lot of movies that are based on tragedy, like real life tragedies.
Yeah.
However, I'm getting over that somewhat.
Mm. But you watch like fucking unsolved
like,
mysteries and shit, right?
Right. Yeah.
But a part of it is, it's like, would you watch like a Columbine movie?
I watched Bowling for Columbine when it came out.
But
yeah,
we all watched
that was dumb
Tanya.
Too.
You also, the thing is,
I did not. Now, is there a difference between 9/11 and Tanya Harding?
Well, what I was going to say is,
it's a real life tragedy,
right?
It doesn't matter how many people were injured or murdered. It's a real life.
It was a real life tragedy.
Emotionally.
There is a difference for me. There was then, at least, between documentary filmmaking and fictionalization.
Okay.
I think the thing that always bothered me was the fictionalization of these tragedies, where they fleshed out moments that may or may not really have happened. They tend to have an agenda of some kind.
Right.
Even though that's true of documentary filmmaking too.
Right, because it's always the director's opinion. It's always their point of view.
And they could take footage and make a point, that they really, and manipulate what they're telling you. But like that, there's just a fine balance. Like, I don't know if it was like where it's coming from for me. The where I'm uncomfortable is like, are they profiteering off of something?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Charlize Theron is you start to have remorse for her character in Monster, right? And she's almost at moments is justified and a likable character, but she's got fucking theme music and hit songs, and it's just sensationalizing her, right?
Right.
The reality is, she's just this horrible fucking serial killer.
Yeah. Yeah, or the glamorous leather.
But there is like, Dave, you mentioned like unsolved mysteries, and it is always, many years ago I went through like a thing of like, oh God, is true crime like bad? And I think there's a difference between telling a story and being exploitative.
Right.
It's
some of like yes, there is. But like some of like what's the channel? Oxygen or We that does like they start every episode like, one of these three people ended up killing her. Can you figure out which one?
Oh, that's a fun show.
It's like I Love the 90s TV show. Like, celebrities.
It's like the gay dating game, only one of them ends up murdering her.
They had that one. There was one of them where they're like, they just portrayed the victim as a huge asshole just so so everybody has a motive.
I don't know about this stuff.
But they changed on that show. I think they changed the names of the people involved, but it's inspired by a real case.
But also, that stuff has been around for decades. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's
in true crime books and shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then like maybe Cops is a kind of a hop, skip, and a jump away from that subject as well.
Yeah.
I would recommend everyone listen to the podcast "Running from Cops."
Oh yeah.
It's a podcast about the show Cops, and it will make you not watch that show ever again.
Well, yeah, good. It's canceled anyway. I think ultimately it comes down to you have to evaluate it for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're watching it and you're feeling compassion and you're like, oh, this is horrible, like I'm educating myself so things like this maybe don't happen again, or you're looking at it from a complete sociological point of view where you're like, how can something like this, like, how does A and B add up to be C? And like, you're literally like investigating it. If you're watching it and you're jerking off all over your knees,
that is wrong.
Then maybe you shouldn't be watching it.
Midway is more of column B than column A.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going back to Midway.
That's what started it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, on a comic
Midway
book
is more like Star Wars set in World War II.
Wow, interesting.
If you can
going back to a comic book topic briefly, I guess
we're here to talk about Midway.
Yeah, we're here to talk about World War II movies.
They're comic book adjacent.
I did just finish that the newest Garth Ennis Punisher series called Soviet.
Yeah, how is that one?
If I was prepared, I would have it setting right here.
That's okay. I can throw images in later.
Instead, I have an army ant sitting right there.
Aww.
But Garth Ennis has been writing Punisher off and on now for over 20 years, and I always say he's the one that, like, I've always loved the Punisher, but he's the one that made me like fall in love with the character of Frank Castle. So Soviet starts off, the basic idea of it is it's Punisher out doing his usual thing in New York, hunting down a Russian mob hideout, and he's going through all these motions, and then he gets there and he finds out they're already all gunned down and murdered. And he finds out basically there's someone that's hunting down Russian mobs that's not him. They're all being tied to him, but he's not doing any of them. Is this entire thing frozen up, Freddy? Are you... Oh, okay. You just weren't moving.
I was moving. I was doing this.
Oh.
He was just watching.
So the point is that he teams up with a character that's hunting down Russian mobs already. All I can say is I don't want to spoil much because there is stuff that can be given away. Is that I highly recommended it. It made me fall right back in love with him. The Punisher's been a little bit bland lately. Okay, sorry, I talked about comics. Let's talk about World War II again.
All right, that sounds like my kind of thing. No, I was coming here today hoping to give a quick little review of the Alien 3 original screenplay collected edition. I know you did a while ago, right, Freddy?
Yeah, I read that. I guess it was last year sometime. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, I finally got to it. But I've only read half of it. I intend on reading all of it last night, so I'll just review it next episode.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay. I know you already did it once, but
what you have to say.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean like different perspectives.
It might not be a different perspective. It might be the exact same.
We're using the all-seeing eye together again, I guess.
Yes.
I want the eye.
No, I want the eye. Where is the eye? I was so scared. I saw that movie in the theater. And I was shitting myself. Like that scene, holy fuck. That scared me so much. It was so creepy.
I was really scared of Ray Harryhausen's like stop motion stuff.
Yeah, well, all of it just scared me. Like my dad should not have brought... When did that movie come out? Like 82?
1980. Yeah, it was real early in the 80s.
It was 82.
Oh my God. Yeah.
82. So you were like 5 years old?
Yeah. I should not have been watching that.
I think we're the same age.
Yeah.
We'll cut ourselves in half and count our rings after the show.
That's right. Did you read anything, Freddy?
Did I read anything? I'm reading Mary Trump's book right now.
Oh, are you?
And let me tell you.
It's a doozy.
It is already a doozy, and I'm just in the first chapter. It's
oh my gosh.
It is some brilliant shit. If you dislike Donald Trump as much as I do.
This is the most affirmation you could possibly have.
Right. And then on top of that, it's also really kind of a tragic story of abuse and what it does to a family.
Yeah.
It's all the icky shit that you know about rich people. You think you know about rich people. You suspected you knew.
Right. It's all legit.
It is all legit. It's fucked up. I also just finished Stephen King's newest book, If It Bleeds.
Oh yeah, I saw the cover for that. It was very not Stephen King. I was like, this is a badass cover for a book.
It's a great cover, yeah. It's got like 3 or 4 short stories and a novella in it. They're all very good. The last story in there is all about the creative process, kind of, and it's a real interesting read. Where this writer holds up in a cabin. It's very similar to Secret Window, Secret Garden, if you've ever read that.
Oh yeah. I love that one.
Yeah, this one, it's got a real eerie vibe to it, but also like if you're a creative person and you go through that process, it's really cathartic to read that.
Yeah. Because he's a writer in that one too.
Yeah. So it's real similar kind of character. It's just, variations on the themes that he puts in all of his.
Yeah, I mean, I think Stephen King is at his best when he's like, narrating the first person like dialogue of an artist who's secluded in a cabin and has an alcohol problem. Like that is Stephen King to me.
I love it. I'm fine with him rewriting the same stories over and over again. That does not bother me a bit. Like, because they're variations they're his themes.
Yeah.
Like nobody does them better. And like, and when I think that like sometimes when he ventures too far away from those themes is when I'm not as much into writing. But
Freddy and I were talking about that yesterday when you weren't there, Dave. Stephen King doesn't really always do it for me.
Yeah, but when he does, right?
I guess.
Did you read Carrie?
Okay.
Jason?
Did I read what?
Carrie?
Yes, I like Carrie quite a bit.
Yeah. What about Salem's Lot?
Never read it.
That's my favorite, with it being a very close second. But
I really like it.
Yeah.
I like The Shining. And
great.
Honestly, The Shining was one of the books I put down halfway through.
No one ever agrees with me when I say this, but Tommyknockers. I love fucking Tommyknockers.
I like Tommyknockers too, and
it's very divisive, but I love it.
I don't even think Stephen King likes that book.
No, he says he doesn't even remember writing it.
Yeah, because he was all coked out of his mind.
There's a few books like that. Like he says that about Cujo too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I think that speaks to how magical those books are. They came from some sort of weird place.
Yeah.
He wasn't even conscious of,
right? And it's a sci-fi book. It's about fucking aliens.
And there's a little mention of Pennywise in there too.
Yeah. The whole book. I love that book.
Yeah. I need to reread that one. I'm a big fan of his first 10 years of writing.
Yeah.
I think that's like his best stuff.
But, getting back to variations of the theme, like I think that's why I love the creators that I love, and that's not just in authors, that's film and that's illustrators and comic books and stuff. Like I love variations of the theme. I think it's great when they can do something completely opposite of what they normally do, but like, Katsuhiro Otomo, I've said it a million times, created Akira. To me, it's the most accomplished literary graphic work in history, right? It's the best comic book alongside of maybe Watchmen, right? It's the Citizen Kane of the comic book world. And he didn't do really much of anything. He did a few little short stories here and there, but nothing like he was like, all right, this is it. And then he created the anime for Steam Boy and almost like propagating the idea that this was going to be the next Akira. And it just kind of sucked, And I think that, no pun intended, that idea ran out of steam and he never got to the manga part of it. But
also, it's got kind of a pornish title.
Steam Boy.
I mean, like...
No, I don't see that one.
Pornish.
But like, I go to Cronenberg because I want a fucking Cronenberg movie,
Right. Yeah. Or people listen to AC/DC because they want to hear AC/DC.
Yeah. I don't want to see A History of Violence when I go to see a Cronenberg movie. Maybe it's good.
I like History of Violence.
I know you do. People do like it, but it's fine. I want to see a movie where fucking cancer is drooling out of people's eyeballs and they start fucking in it. Like that's what I like Cronenberg for.
Yeah, I go to Cronenberg for the body horror too.
Yeah.
I like the icky sticky. This show's become too erotic to handle.
We didn't talk about the fucking controversy. What's wrong with you, Jason?
Because there's no reason to talk about that.
Why? You were so about it. You're like, are we allowed to talk about this? And
I asked one question and you said sure.
And I said, yes, we're ready to talk about this. And nothing.
And it's old news now.
So what? Speaking
and
of
the
new
show's
news,
over.
Speaking
and
of
new
nerd news, if you don't know yet, go to lego.com for $299. Pre-sales go up in the next couple days. Probably they are up by the time you hear this podcast. For the Nintendo Entertainment System Lego set. It comes with the Nintendo, a controller, and a television that you can fucking spin around and make Mario hop up and down and fall down. Like,
And it cost more than the actual NES did.
Yeah, and it costs more than what you would pay for a boxed, like basically mint in condition original NES system. You can get those for around $200, $150 to $200, and this Lego system that doesn't actually even play games is way more.
But it's cute how you can crank it and Mario.
It is cute, and I'll be getting it because I'm a fucking chump. And I already have a boxed mint in condition. Did you guys know that these are all boxed NES games behind me? See what I'm pointing at?
That's impressive.
Those are all NES games in the box.
That's awesome.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I had no clue that
I jerk off all over my knees.
I had no clue that you actually couldn't play that Nintendo system.
I don't think you can play it. It's a fucking Lego.
Oh, well then, yeah, what the hell's the point?
I don't know.
It looks like there are ports.
It does.
And it takes a cartridge, but it is
the cartridge is also made out of the Legos, though.
It's also Legos.
Yeah.
the Frogurt.
Unless they've done something unless, there's one little element that I don't understand, and that would be like fucking next level insanity if that was a real active working fucking Nintendo that's made out of Legos. That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of what I thought they would have done.
They should make a Lego meat grinder.
It really
actually doesn't grind meat.
They've successfully built electric cars out of fucking Legos.
Yeah.
That you can actually drive in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What if you get in an accident? Is it just bricks everywhere?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's craggled a little bit, but
it's got crumple zones. Are there Lego crash test dummies? They're gonna just pop right off.
They just explode in a million pieces.
Oh boy, oh boy.
What else in nerd news? Anything?
I thought we had to end the episode.
I'm dragging it out because I miss you guys.
Oh, I miss you. Nerd news? I'd say Midway,
New film came out 7 years ago.
It's
a film that was made in 1976.
So you want to see some ridiculously intense dogfighting and some battleship formations and carrier formations that never should have happened.
That sounds exciting. Remember when they made a fucking movie out of Battleship?
Yeah, I never saw that.
Hey, nostalgia sells. Battleship? Yeah, let's do it.
I thought they did that because they made like a mildly successful board game movie.
Yeah, it was because I think Battleship.
Jumanji?
This was like because there was like a somewhat mid-level successful one, and they announced a bunch of stupid ones. Like they were gonna do like a Chutes and Ladder, and they were gonna do Monopoly.
Huh?
Wasn't there? What was that? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Imagine a Monopoly movie. It's just this movie about this fucking bald dude with a monocle and a top hat buying up fucking real estate. That would be the greatest fucking movie ever.
Movies based on board games. Clue.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
I remember Dungeons and Dragons. That movie was so bad.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal.
It wasn't because of Transformers, was it?
I just think it was the whole conglomerate of like remakes and buying up shit. Like Hollywood had become IDW more or less.
Right. But there was like a specific like thing that got it going.
Well, you think
the
about
Phantom
it. We'll
meets
talk
the
about
Shadow,
it
meets Tarzan, meets Kato.
Meets the Lego meat grinder. It's not just for kids anymore. Adults can grind Lego meat too.
It's for butchers.
It's for butchers. I'm so tired of there not being any whimsy in my job. Every day I get half a pig, I cut that pig into portions, and I sell it.
I've always wondered, what if my shit was made out of Legos?
And now my job is fun again. Covered.
Yay! Kids playing with meat.
Kids playing
raw
with
meat, making raw meat spam sculptures.
I hate to leave it there, but I have to.
Fine.
We'll be back soon.